Should we kick off with a mystery sound number one?
Check it out.
Kick off mystery sound number one. Let's go with this one.
Kickflip skateboard, but bro don't know how to kickflip.
Oh, I don't know. We're going to do that. We're going to start that one again.
Kickflip skateboard, but bro don't know how to kickflip.
All right. Welcome to the Strength and Motion Show, everyone. That's mystery sound number one. Health and happiness, everyone. Welcome to the Strength and Motion Show, an online experience curated specifically for the members and fans of Strength and Motion Academy. If you haven't heard of our space before, we are a 24/7 gym in Midvale, Western Australia, and our goal is to provide a space where people can build a strong and mobile body using a functional and holistic health approach to training and life. If this is your first time listening to the show, then thank you for tuning in, and I strongly encourage you to get stuck into our first 5 episodes. These first 5 are a complete deep dive into hashtag the holistic way, which is our 4-pillar approach to achieving health and fitness mastery. As experienced health and fitness coaches ourselves, we have identified movement, nutrition, sleep, and stress as the 4 key areas to always prioritize in order to live healthy and happy. You can do so by simply scrolling to the beginning of this episode list or search the Strength and Motion Show on YouTube and Facebook. Today, we are talking busy people fitness tings, fitness for busy people. As a busy person, it is very likely that the whole reason you're listening to this show right now on audio is so that you can multitask and get something else done. So normally Nav and I, we have a little chimnwag on what's going on in our lives, but you're a busy person and we're trying to keep these episodes fresh and updated. However, you got shit to do and you're here to learn. So if you feel inclined to know more about us, you can follow us more intimately on Instagram, where we post a lot of our daily lives and connect with people there. So Navar, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you?
Great, yourself?
Good. That's all we care about. Let's get into
I'm lying. No, no, great.
Yeah. So let's throw our audience into the deep end straight away. Let's just get into the nitty gritty. Why are people so busy in the first place, and why do people feel they need to be so busy anyway? Everybody busy.
Yeah, everybody busy. I think outside of the very first one that comes to mind is the fact that we are in a very busy world where we do have to work and we do have to hustle and we do have responsibilities. So not taken away from the responsibilities we do have as busy people. However, on top of that, people are also falling into behaviors or ways of trying to achieve success when that might not be the answer. So they think that hustling or being overly busy is the attractive way to being successful, or the way to being seen on social media or in a business. So that's one that comes to mind for me.
That was me. That was definitely me.
Yeah, likewise.
It's still a little bit me, to be honest, but not so much these days. But
you get praised so much for being a hard worker, right?
Yeah. We it's funny that we tend to get praised more on what we do versus what we don't do. And a lot of the time, the remedy to chaos is to do less, not more. Almost all the time, really. Yeah,
that one. We live in a world of safety, abundance, and options.
The world is pretty dense.
Yes, there's so much.
It feels very dense. Lots of things.
Lots
of things.
Yeah,
people, options, resources. You know? It's like water feels like it's always available. Yeah. Time somehow feels like it's always available when it's fucking not. We just talked about it off air. Yeah. And I fully understand that.
Yeah, and people don't know, they don't have the self-awareness or specifically who they are and what they want to do. And so when you have an infinite amount of options, it could be easy for us to chaotically find or choose multiple things in our lives. And then half of the 90% of them might not even actually be resourceful or useful towards us and our purpose and what we want to achieve.
Yeah, I had a very interesting conversation with a member earlier on about how someone's got to empty the bins, you know, and we talked about how
who's going to empty the bins?
Yeah, who's going to empty the bins? You don't know me. You don't know me, son. Who's going to empty the bins? But because they're in a managerial space as well, so they're required to be a leader. And we were discussing how, for society function, it's hard to talk. It's interesting to talk about because as a leader, it's actually helpful to have people that don't want to grow and to have people that aren't actually as aware, because when people become more aware, they actually want to get better jobs. So sometimes it really helps to have, I guess more for the selfish reasons, but it helps to have people that, just want to live that normal life and just want to go to work, empty the bins and then leave again. Not everyone can live that optimal life and have the most time available to them because...
Yeah, but that might be optimal to them. Someone might want to, they might be a part-time parent that want to just work a handful of hours a day, if that, a few times a week.
Yeah.
And they have that awareness, and that's their choice. And it's better for them to do that for their own health and their own well-being and for their own financial gain to do that than to put the stress upon their shoulders to be like us that work ridiculous hours and run our own business with the stresses and the risks and everything that we take. But I think that's kind of what we're getting down into as well, is like having the self-awareness of like, no, like I do want to work that sort of job. I do want to be a cleaner, and nothing wrong with being a cleaner, of course, but like, I guess more a job where you don't get paid, you get paid minimum wage. And minimum wage jobs for individuals that might be coming out of school or someone that might just want to work part-time with no stress. Yeah,
you're right. They do serve, especially for many instances as well. I also wanted to add in that because this is a thing that I struggled with. This is a big turning point for me, but people struggle with the stillness and the silence, and again, I still have a similar version, not as much as I used to, but my inability to be comfortable with having a free schedule or having nothing to do on a Saturday night. I always felt like I had to be doing something on a Saturday night because I would feel like people would see me as like unpopular if I didn't have anything to do on a Saturday night. And so then I took on a job as a male stripper and as a topless waiter, because then I could feel that sense of being needed somewhere as well. But then I became chaotically busy because I was working 2 jobs and then all of a sudden didn't have any downtime. I'm like, why am I so fucking stressed and burnt out all the time? But I just felt like it was just too much, and it was more important to be seen as successful and needed rather than to actually feel genuinely needed and successful. So I was super busy with that. Anything else, Nav?
Yeah, I think just on the back of that, it's like getting caught up chasing dopamine. Is chasing this feeling, this high that we get from drugs or from certain experiences, behaviors, things that trigger our dopamine, and then our baseline of dopamine shifts. So if we're then, like you're mentioning, struggling to find stillness or silence, we're feeling like we're unsatisfied within ourselves, we feel like we need to show up and we need to prove ourselves to the world, and then we're feeding this dopamine hit, and then the dopamine baseline shifts, and then we need more of it and more of it and more of it. And I think that's a very common one for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I mentioned drugs, I also meant like social media and television and it's all drugs.
Consuming, right?
Yeah, definitely. Just the it's I think I always think of Pac-Man. You know the Pac-Man game where there's little things.
YouTube, Netflix.
Yeah, there's just people just chomping.
Coffee.
Yeah, literally just over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Cool. So for everybody, we're going to talk about holistic fitness. This is really, we're getting to the nitty gritty of like how to navigate fitness as a busy person. And our remedy for that, or our solution, our answer, is a holistic approach. So if you have listened to the show before, then you are aware of what taking a holistic approach is. We've talked about it in our first 5 episodes. But if you're new here, we are the type of folk who tend to spend a lot of our time advocating for strong habits, a healthy lifestyle, a quiet mind in conjunction with functional training. It's not just the narrow-minded focus on training that allows us to feel like we're putting enough into our fitness. And that's what this podcast is about, is fitness for busy people. And really the first point of advice is that the more busier we get, it's basically the same thing as we're becoming more chaotic, because there's more things for us to handle. The pot's boiling in a way. And so the more chaotic we tend to get, the more narrow-minded we tend to get, the more narrow-focused we tend to get. And then so someone wants to do more for their fitness because they don't feel like they're getting their fitness in. They actually tend to try harder with their fitness, but in actual fact, it's not about trying less hard, but actually just expanding your awareness to focus all the things on outside of the gym, which is your movement, nutrition, your sleep, and your stress. And if you can gain momentum with your fitness in these other areas of your life, then you're able to start to move the needle forward in your fitness aspect, because your sleep is better, because your nutrition is better, your lifestyle habits is better, your time management is better. And we're going to talk about all those things now. So especially when people are feeling really, really time poor, it becomes even more important to be adhering to the most time effective strategies, which is ironically the holistic approach. So, Navar, talk to us about what can go wrong when someone avoids the holistic approach.
Yeah, so you could get someone that's fit, but also stressed and chaotic at the same time.
Yeah, which is me. That's Josh.
Yeah. And I think we talked about this.
And nurses. Sorry, nurses.
I think we talked about this in one of our previous ones, of like marathon runners or people that are high performers in a sport, but they're overstimulating their body, they're overly stressed and chaotic, and there might come a point where the body breaks or the mind breaks or something breaks. But like you mentioned, it's not to say to just give up on things and be weak and not go into discomfort, but finding a holistic, a balance. Same thing with being strong, but you could also be fat and inflamed at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lean and toned with an eating disorder, big one, especially for women. Yeah,
that's super common.
Yeah, so they might achieve being lean, they might be toned.
Yeah.
Actually, in saying that, I've had this experience with many guys as well, especially younger guys.
It is, yeah.
They really are particular about their food to the point they might even undereat, and they have this real negative perception of food.
Yeah, I actually had one of your clients come to me this week, Thursday, Wednesday, one of those days.
I think I know who you're talking about.
You definitely know who it is. It's that client. Talks to me, but I love helping him. But he was freaking. Sorry, they were freaking out. Because you've made the necessary adjustment in their calories, and they've pre-planned their meal plan, and they're like, "Fuck!" Like, I've put it into MyFitnessPal, and Nav's given me 1,800 calories, and I'm like 21 calories short. What do I do? And I said, don't fucking worry about it. I was like, do you know how much 21 calories? And I was like, bro, it's like fucking one almond.
And in all fairness, he's probably not adhering to it that well. You know, like in reality, he's probably missing.
He wasn't. He wasn't. He actually admitted to all the salami and cheese that he'd been having. Anyway, it was good that he admitted to it. And the awareness was there. But the point of this story for the listeners is that this person was literally expressing a not severe but a deep sense of anxiety over 21 calories, and it's not their fault. They just were unaware of what 21 calories was. They were so committed to adhering to Nav's instructions that they were having a freak out, and I'm like, bruz, like it's a sip of Gatorade or something, the amount of calories that you're freaking out over. And so sat down with them and just gave them a few pointers on what to adjust, but really it was just like, just ease up, it's all good. You're getting you're over focusing on this when you need to be over focusing on your consistency. Don't over focus on these things, and that's a common thing of just getting priorities not in order.
Absolutely.
I do rate that. And then also I wanted to add in the eating disorder thing as well. It's not always a extreme case of the eating disorder. It's more often than not a more subtle version of the eating disorder, to the point that if you actually saw a doctor or something or someone, that it wouldn't be seen as labeled as a eating order, just maybe cause for concern. But if you spoke to maybe a psychologist or a therapist, they would be using that to dig deeper, because they can recognize that the person's relationship with food is out.
What's the emotional pattern? Where's the mindset at? Like, what is that showing?
Exactly right. So it's not so much of like straight up bulimia and spewing up. It's it's a very subtle avoidance of food. And then be like, oh, I'm just so busy, I don't eat. And like, no. There is a behavior that's you're choosing to avoid food because you're afraid of gorging when you finally start eating, or maybe you don't want to be seen eating, or maybe you actually don't like eating during the day because you're so stressed, but then you only prefer to eat when no one's watching, and that's when the snacks and the salami and the cheese come in. So all of those things come up. So,
and how sad is a life where you don't even enjoy the food you're eating? Like, why not be able to just sit there and enjoy the food? Like, taste your food, be mindful with it, and actually be grateful for the energy and the life that the food brings you.
Dance with it.
With it. Put it all over your body.
Smear it like this. I put
only 21 calories.
21 calories. I put lemon on my watermelon the other day. And I was dancing in the kitchen like, watermelon and lemon. It's actually quite good.
Nice.
If anyone hasn't done it, just put some lemon on some watermelon. Water lemon. Cool. So what I'd like to go is like, let's share some examples of how people can reshape their lifestyle to become more chaotic. No, I'm kidding. To become more holistic. Yeah. So let's give people some like good examples of what can they actually do to start bringing this. Like, yes, we've talked about, okay, I'm fit and chaotic, but how do I be fit and less chaotic? How do I be strong and carrying less fat and be less inflamed? And so, what are some examples, Nav, that people can do to actually become more holistic within their training and their lifestyle?
I really like this first one, the ditch the fancy recovery or productivity hacks and just be less busy. But the thing that comes up for me with that is I tried for so long to biohack my sleep. I was like, well, maybe I can, I told you all about this. I did like bi sleep patterns where I'll sleep for 4 hours a night, 4 hours during the day. I even did poly sleep patterns where I'll sleep like 20 minutes every 3 hours, I think it was. And And I tried to find ways to gain as much time as I could because I wanted to be as successful and as great as I could be, right? But in reality, that just made life so much harder, recovery so much harder, and what have you. So for me, it comes down to making sure you could dive into the fancy recovery or productivity hacks after you already have the baseline of something like making sure you're finding stillness throughout the day, making sure you're having mindful eating, making sure that you're getting good sleep.
Yes. Yeah. I really rate that as well. Another one is to dedicate your time to challenging questions, your own desires and motivations. So it's a reasonably deep question for some people, but really what we're trying to emphasize is that the busyness comes from trying to do too many things. That's what really was going on. Like that's what busyness is. And so, yes, we have a lot of things going on in our lives, but we do find that we also have a tendency to try and do too many things. And so regardless if you've got, 5, 6, 7 kids, regardless of whatever you've got going on in your life, you just have to accept the reality of what your life is, and also therefore accept that it's your responsibility to then fine tune the way you're approaching life. In any situation you're in, some people have it better, some people have it worse, but whatever it is, you have to be honest about that. And so being honest about that then allows you to be like, why am I really so busy?
Yeah.
And then if you are busy because there's so many things on your plate, then that's when you start looking at either seeking help or finding advice on finding someone who's been in a similar situation that has handled it. And for the amount of conversations that we've had with parents in the gym and clients, as well as the amount of conversations we've had from a variety of different mentors from what we've had, it's always within the flavor of doing less. There's always some element of doing less, and people are always being challenged on why the fuck are you so busy in the first place. And that's why that's a big theme of today. Although it's not the only part of what's happening, it's a very big aspect of the busyness epidemic, I think they call it, the busyness epidemic or the pandemic. I get confused with those words.
Same. I think it's epidemic, but
I think it's epidemic as well. But it is like the business drug. Business is a drug as well, and that's why we're again always like remove before you add. Because doing an ice bath or getting a massage, which for the record I do these regularly, and my ideal lifestyle is to have a massage a week. But the reason I want to have a massage a week is so I can kind of work 90 hours a week. Like I genuinely want to do that. And if I am choosing to be that busy, probably not 90 hours a week of work, but there is a part of me that genuinely wants to be that busy. And so, when it comes to racing for an ultra marathon, those are those times where I'm like, well, I'm actually going to put these hacks in because I've intentionally work those in. But definitely,
but for busy people that have a family and their purpose is to provide for their family and to show up for their partner and the people around them, that's not necessary, right? They don't have to go to that extreme.
Definitely, exactly right. And a lot of the busyness, if we talk about parents, a lot of the busyness is the need to provide for their children. And it's that constant need to provide for that children. And that's where conversations with yourself and your partner as well is like, why are we striving so hard for our children? And very commonly, I experienced a level of this in my own childhood as well, which I fully respect. But the trade-off of working so hard means less time spent with the family. And so my dad definitely did well more than beyond trying to make himself available in his life. But however, during the week, I barely saw him. And that was my whole entire life. I barely saw my dad during the work week because he was just fucking grinding, just trying to make it work. Dad's basically an immigrant to Australia, so he spent his first morning on a park bench in not Kings Park, doesn't matter, begins with H, Highgate, I think it was. Anyway, so that was my dad's motivation. He's like, fuck, I've got to get my whole family over here. Mum was pregnant with my brother, but then he was working so hard that then there was an absence of seeing my dad for a very long time for a lot of my teenage years, and that is just so common. And I sensed that desire within myself, and that's my romantic relationships have suffered because I want to do so much for them, and I found out in the first place I'm like, they never asked me to do that much for them. They just wanted me to be there for them. And so that's a really big important thing to have to be aware of as well, is like, why are you working so hard, and is the reason that you're working so hard to achieve this result, could you achieve that result by not working so hard and taking a different route to that? And often there's usually a way to do that.
Which kind of moves into the next one, right? The last one, but managing the inputs.
Yes.
Yeah. So managing the inputs are being put into your mind. So what are you consuming? What are you watching on your phone, on social media, watching on news, the information? What about the people around you, who you're interacting with?
Yes.
Are they succubuses and succubi? I don't know. But are they sucking the energy out of you, and they bring you down and making you feel low? And the news and information that you're absorbing, is it uplifting you and being resourceful and providing like resourcefulness towards your life, or is it taken away from your life?
Yeah. So I just cut my shin open. So I did, it's not bleeding, but I scratched my shin doing an obstacle course race on the weekend, True Grit. And I just made it bleed. So that's why I was just looking a bit distracted on the set. But yeah, guys, ladies and gentlemen, that again is the theme of like to bring the holistic approach into your life. If you want to bring something in, you've got to take some things out. And so really the
create space.
You got to create
let
space.
Something die. It's like the rebirth cycle, right? You got to die before you arise from the ashes as a phoenix, right? Like you got to die into the ashes and become the ashes.
You do. I actually, I've been using the words a lot is construction and destruction. And in order for you to construct something, you need the space to construct something. And so if you want to build a new house, maybe you need to knock the original house down to have the space. And so in order for you to construct a better lifestyle, there's parts of your lifestyle that you have to therefore deconstruct in order to make the space for that. And that's what we're getting at. And so if you just try and build, you end up with a house that's very dense, and then you can't fit anything else in. And so really, again, having more space in your life allows more space for happiness. But a lot of the time, the work that we do forces the happiness out. And so with the last note on that, I also wanted to add is find movement forms. So there's different forms of exercise, which is like weights, heavy weights, and you can do strength, endurance, hypertrophy, power, speed, agility. You can do Pilates, yoga. You can go into the more nourishing movement styles, and you can go to the more really sweat or straining exercise styles. All of them have a benefit on us, and based on what our goals are, you need to be focusing on certain things more than others. However, you will find that certain versions of these movements, Pilates, yoga, strength training, sprinting, whatever it is, will nourish you more than it nourishes other people, which is why I kind of ended up a marathon runner and not a swimmer, because I'm a fucking tourist in the water. And so thinking about swimming lots gives me anxiety and I stress out. And so I'm like, fuck, got to get this done because I'm training for XYZ. But if I'm like training for, like at the moment, I'm not training for anything. I'm not swimming because I'm not training for a swimming event, but I'm naturally still running and I'm naturally lifting more because that's what I'm craving. And so that adds to my levels of happiness because I'm feeling more fulfilled again. And when I'm less fulfilled, I get more busy because it's influencing the way I'm spending my time because I feel unhappy. So very big thing there. Let's move on to time management and prioritizing prioritizing health. How do we actively apply good time management to the fitness part of our life? So now, talk to me first. It's probably obvious why time management is so important, but let's just fucking drive that nail home. Why is time management so important?
Well, I think the very first thing that comes to mind is awareness, right? Like, how do you even know that you're busy, and how do you even know where your time is going? And so for a lot of people, they say they're busy, yet when you discuss how does your 164 hours in a week look like, how does 24 hours in a day look like, and they don't have the awareness. And for a lot of people, they might not even be aware of how much time they spend on their phone or how much time they spend watching YouTube or Netflix. And so without measuring first before even managing it, you're going to be at cause. You're going to be at cause you're going to be reactive to time, right? Like you're not in control of time. And so that's the first thing, is you want to be aware of it so then you can manage it. And people avoid time management because they don't want to know how much time they're wasting as well. And that's where awareness is challenging, right? Like the very first step in anything is awareness and acceptance. And and that's hard. Like that's probably one of the most difficult processes in the whole entire thing, is actually looking at yourself and be like, oh, I'm at fault. I'm responsible. I got to take ownership.
You probably heard me chuckle as you said that, because as I reread this, I'm like, did I just write this to have a go at myself? Like I'm like, fuck, I'm yelling at myself here. But that's definitely a huge thing that I suffer from. Like literally right now is like, how can I be even sure? Like I am aware, and I've even spoken to you how much time I waste. I'm aware of it, but I still find myself when people say like, "How you going?" I'm like, "Man, I'm fucking flat out, flat out." And all I'm doing is fucking flat out scrolling my phone and doing fuck all. Not all the time, but like that. But I can sense the guilt that comes when I really acknowledge how much time's been wasted.
Yeah.
And when a lot of times I'm like, "Hey, how's things going? What have you been up to?" And like, "Oh, busy." But there's a part of me that says like, I wasn't asking you about your state of mind. I was asking you about your schedule, because the schedule isn't busy. It's just their state of mind is busy. So when I ask a person how they are, their brain is so chaos. The only word that can come out is busy.
Yeah.
And then but then at the same time they're busy. And then I'm like, okay, well let's have a look at your nutrition. What did you have for breakfast this morning? And they're like, oh, I fucking can't even remember. I don't even know. Was it yesterday? Is today or was today tomorrow? Or was it 3 days ago? Like the mind is such a blur. They can't even recall what was going on. And it's just a reflection of straight up chaos.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, look, if you are a person that struggles with the chaos, I don't know how you're going to manage to do it. I struggle with the same thing, but what we do know is that we have to find a way to be less chaotic, and we have to find a way to just prioritize the time management, because if you're not managing time, then time's managing you. It's one or the other. And
even if you were to go into time management and gain awareness, and you were to come to the realization that, I'm in the right place, that at least brings peace. For a lot of people, they might actually be trying to measure their time to manage it, but what they don't recognize, once they've done that, they then recognize that, they are doing the things that need to do, and that brings peace. That brings peace to them. So awareness isn't always going to bring change. It doesn't have to bring change.
Yes.
But what it can also bring is peace.
Yes.
And so if you're uncomfortable and you feel like you're extremely busy, even awareness might then heal that, and you might then be able to manage your time better in a resourceful way. Or on the other side, you can then just come to peace and acceptance of like, oh no, my life is busy, but it's the life that I want. And then you could find peace in that and grounding in that. And so even in your busy, chaotic life, it won't be chaotic anymore, because now it's a choice.
Yes. Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with that. That was, you reminded me of something our first mentor, I forgot his name, the coffee guy, Sean. Sean. He taught us the concept of zoom in, zoom out, and we probably talked about this when you were giving him our free counselling session in our meeting the other week, of just like, I can find myself, and I found myself feeling quite chaotic recently, and just a bit lost, because I was so zoomed into my life, and I had I've got so many things going on. I'm like, I do this and that and this and that. And then Nav said to me, he's like, but don't all of those things come under the umbrella of business? And so if you focus on business, then you realize that this is part of the grind week of the business month. And I'm like, oh, okay, that does make sense. And this is part of the grind year of the business year as well. And so that gave me the perspective to understand of the path that I'm on, and gave me more of a reference. I'm like, oh, this is actually meant to be a bit of a challenging and dense time, because of the events that are happening in the following weeks, months, years. They're going to be less dense based on the strategy. So that was really good to help me feel better about that. Before we go on to sharing strategies for prioritizing health in a busy lifestyle now, we understand that it's important, but we now need to pause for a camera reset.
Beautiful.
And hit with the second mystery sound. Let's just do the first one for a second.
Kickflip skateboard, but bro don't know how to kickflip.
That's mystery sound number. I bet it was those guys that fucking left this studio messy before us as well.
Probably, yeah.
Do you want to hit us mystery sound number 2?
Should we do this one? Oh.
Fuck is that?
Okay. All right.
No, we've had this one.
Yeah, before,
this is original. All right.
Beautiful.
We're coming back. We're back. Cameras have been reset. Oh, hold on. Sound spike. Oh. And then one sound spike for luck. See him in the video editor. If you want to leave that bit in, you can do. It's up to you. Make it entertaining for the audience.
Yeah.
Mystery sound, we're back on. All right. Woohoo. All right, and we are returning. We've had the camera reset. Let's get back into it, busy people. So, strategies for prioritizing health in a busy lifestyle. Let me say that whole sentence again. Strategies for prioritizing health in a busy lifestyle. This is the time management chapter. Let's go, Nav. What are some ways we can prioritize health in a busy lifestyle?
So we just talked about time management. So the first thing is actually commit to intention setting and executive time. So actually putting time into journaling, meditation, or planning your days, just so then you can have awareness and you can manage your time better. And then you can find the space to put in what you need to put in for training. It's like when we have clients and they're like, oh, I want to get to the gym 3 days a week. Cool. What days and times can you get it in? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I was like, well, if you don't know, you're not going to do it, right? So I think that'd be the first one, is actually put time into setting your day, setting your week, setting your time, and that will...
And commit to it.
Yeah. And then you can focus on the processes over the results. So you can set the intention and the time for the result that you want. So you're, okay, well, if I want this result, I got to put this... I got to do these things. I got to meal prep. I've got to make sure I get 7 hours of sleep and make sure I drink my water, blah, 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 get my training in. And then that way you could put that in and plan that and manage your time. And then you can focus on the process and you can find pleasure in achieving the habits and the daily work. Because that result isn't going to come until the end of that journey. And for some people, that journey might not be for another year. Like if someone want to lose 30 kilos, that might be a year away from today. And so if you're putting all of your eggs in that one basket of losing the 30 kilos, it could be unpleasurable. It could also seem like it's impossible. But if you could then just find the pleasure in achieving that daily habits, and then you could actually praise yourself for those habits as well. So it makes the journey a little bit more entertaining and fun.
Yeah, that's really good. In one of the recent episodes of Huberman and Mark Andreessen, he's a Silicon Valley investor, and they talked about the character traits of the most successful people. And
the three traits.
Hey,
the three traits.
Big five.
I
can't remember what their five is.
Yeah.
But one of the big five is, I think there's a word for it, but these people genuinely find pleasure in the sharpening of the saw, and they actually it's not they love the grind so much as they love the fact that they understand what the grind is doing for them. And so they have this, most people tend to be so result driven. I was like, oh, I'm a millionaire, where these people are like, I'm becoming a millionaire. And they really, there's a genuine level of satisfaction that comes out of just doing the hard things, which are usually, they're not hard, they're actually quite easy to do. The hard thing is doing them consistently and not getting distracted doing everything else. But doing that over and over and again for years and years and years, which is a very interesting thing. So I just wanted to add that in there, is that some of the most successful, the part of the personality profile of successful people is to be very process driven. Results focused, I would say. But process driven. Yeah,
very cool.
I think it's also important, as far as sharing these strategies for fitting this into a busy lifestyle, is to utilize support networks and group events. So that can be anything from like group runs, for I'm a runner, and so there's run clubs and group sessions just to get people motivated. And there's also things like yoga events and group fitness classes. They just help keep you accountable and they keep you motivated. And so if obviously the cash flow is there, that you can just go to fitness classes or buy a group class membership, which, to be honest, they're not really that expensive anyway, so you should be able to afford it. But also just using the fact of, if you're a busy person, you're going to be facing low energy a lot of the time because you're just spent, and finding ways to then using that social aspect as well to top your emotional cup up. That way you're getting the fitness and the socializing and the motivation and accountability all collectively in that group environment.
And if you're a busy person, you get to hang out with your friends. You also get to do training and fitness at the same time.
Exactly right. Yep. So that's a good place to start. And it really, on the back of that as well, it's like finding, what we've just done is an example of finding a simple overlap between your lifestyle and your, just things that you value, really, is what we're trying to do. Is like, how do you feed the heart muscle just as much as you're feeding the rest of your muscles? And so again, finding things that you are finding value and enjoyment, or at least understand that these things are contributing to your overall plan, i.e. sometimes you've got to, every now and then, if you're going to start a business, you might need to do an all-nighter, or if you're trying to balancing your health and fitness with the kids and stuff, there's just certain sacrifices that need to be made that are maybe unideal in the moment, but long term they are the most ideal thing to be doing as well. And understanding that.
And my last one I wrote in here was the utilizing eating blocks for relaxation and mindfulness, because I have so many clients that are extremely busy. They can't even, they don't allow themselves to find time in the middle of the day, and they use the excuse of work, which understandably is a real excuse, but still an excuse in itself. And so using eating blocks for relaxation and mindfulness. So if you have your breakfast, lunch and dinner, and let's say you set aside 20 to 30 minutes for each block, if you were to then remove yourself from everything, like don't even read anything, don't even watch anything, maybe go outside or even go eat lunch with someone and just relax and enjoy having that time. That now is time for you to be able to prioritize your health within a busy lifestyle.
Yes.
It's like you said, the overlap, but you also get to relax, mindfulness, and eat at the same time. And it helps with rest and digest.
Yeah,
You get to
definitely.
relax and digest food better.
Yeah, look, I agree with that. And also just relaxation, as tempting it as is, relaxation means less inputs, which means less phone screen time. The most common habit I do this a lot actually is like just go on my phone and eat, but really that's not the most ideal approach to mindfulness as well. It's just putting in more information for the brain to deal with as well.
Yeah.
Then it's just more shit to deal with.
Yeah.
That's the chaos.
Literally more consuming.
So let's talk about training now. Let's actually talk about like getting some getting some good workouts in. So time people are often in a rush. Yeah, I'm going to keep mentioning this, but time poor people are often in a rush because they're poor in time, right? Which means that the tendency is to cram more and try and rush more. And so that's actually, as far as training goes, it's the wrong mindset around training. As we mentioned earlier, the need to rush and add pressure actually has the inverse effect on our training. We can only really like hold so much information like consciously. You're probably better explaining that if you're talking about like.
Yeah, you're starting off really well. Yeah, so we can only hold so much information consciously. So allowing ourselves space to move into our body supports our conscious and unconscious minds to expand. So if we're always trying to process one singular, normally you could process like 5 to 9 bits of conscious information in one singular moment, right? But if we're constantly just tunneling in, like you mentioned, when we're chaotic, we can tunnel in on something so deeply that then we start to spiral into that process. If we were to separate that from a little while, like sleep, it's like when you're playing a game, you have a problem, you sleep on the problem, you wake up, the answer's there. Same thing with training. If you would actually let go of the conscious issue that you're having and allow yourself to move into your body and let go of that, now you're bringing in the consciousness into your body. You're going into the unconscious aspect of physiology in your mind, and it could process all that stuff just like sleeping on a problem. Also, when you rush through a workout while stressed, that's only going to hurt your mind and body anyway.
Yes.
Because now you're not getting the most out of your workout. In fact, we both experience this. You get clients that come in and they're trying to rush through their workout, and then their workout's half poor. It's poorly done. Their form and technique's really poor. They're going to injure themselves. They're going to have issues from there. And now they're going to have to go see a physio or a doctor because they hurt themselves. They're going to do rehab. Take your time, move into your body, use that time to let go of work problems or life problems, and you'll find that you'll be able to process your conscious issues by letting go.
Yes,
just
definitely.
like sleeping.
Yeah, no, it's really good. It's just like just emphasizing that you're actually having to go against your instinct when we're talking about this, because again, we're trying to rush through things and
we get addicted to thought, right? Like, if I think about the problem more and more and more, I'm going to find the solution. It's like, that's not always the situation.
Yeah.
Like if you get so tunneled in on the problem that you're not processing it through your body or with other people or in other ways, and you're processing it and spiraling in the same thought patterns with the same questions, you're not finding different answers. So we get addicted to thought.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we're talking about how we can actually, bring more of this into our workouts, like I know we have just emphasized a lot about the mindset of our training, but honestly, that is the most important thing. It's our attitude. Our attitude towards the training and towards the exercise session is the intensity that we're going to approach things with. And you need to have that attitude of being more calm and composed so that the workout itself is effective. Effectiveness is the effectiveness on the body, not the effectiveness on the schedule. So in order to make that happen, you then have to then be organized, first of all, like really organized, and avoid jumping into workouts with no structural routine. Although an unstructured workout will be very fun and energizing, it doesn't do anything like for the long-term fat loss. It doesn't do anything for the long-term muscle gains, because it's not building off from the previous session. That's what you need to be doing to get good fat loss or muscle gain results, is do a session and then build from that from the next session. The only time a rushed workout would be good in my eyes is probably like getting off a plane, where you want to move the body and just knock out like a 15-minute thing before you jump onto the next plane, because you've just been sitting for like 6 or 7 hours, and you actually kind of probably just want to put the body through like a bit of a stress because it's been stuck in a seated position. But outside of that, there's no really good time to rush a workout. Anything else, Nav?
Utilize group classes and coach to take care of structure demands of training. So Go to a place that you like with good people you want to socialize with. Bring your family and friends. So then you're 2-for-1 deal. And then the coaches can do the structure for you, could do all the thought for you. So there's no thought. And you could come in. It could be maybe a HIIT class or a boot camp. It could have a mixture of strength training, mobility, and cardio. 45 minutes maybe, done and dusted. Yep. And you just had to do that a few times a week?
Yes, definitely. I really like that. And again, keeping the focus really holistic, and that means you're striving for good nutrition, good sleep as well, hitting your 7 hours minimum, even aiming for 8 if you can, and using these things to really carry that fitness momentum, because the time in the gym is not going to be as dense as other people that might have that time available. So really take care of yourself outside of the gym to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, which kind of dives into the next one. It's focused on frequency and consistency. It's like you're likely to, being under pressure and being fatigued from work, you're more likely to skip sessions. So you're better off actually focusing on more regular, shorter workouts instead of longer training sessions that you could be more flexible with, and less fatiguing on the body over time.
Yeah.
And if you do that for a year, 2, 3 years, ideally you want to be looking at this to the day you die, because especially you get older and you start to, the less you use it, the more you lose it, right? And so, especially as you get older as well, and we start to deteriorate more and become more dysfunctional, if you were to skip training past a certain age, it gets even worse on you. So really would definitely recommend getting into the mindset of you need to be training to the day you die for as much as you can. Even if you're in a hospital bed, try and do some form of exercise or movement, like move your upper body, do some sit-ups to your circumstance. Obviously, some people might be to a higher extreme, but you want to be looking at being more consistent and frequent over a long term.
It is, yeah. It is really about finding your edge as an attitude towards life. Just finding that the edge of discomfort, and you don't have to live a really depressing life to do that. And in actual fact, you're probably going to live a more fulfilling and sustainable life when you spend more time pursuing a few of those challenges. Because again, if you're conditioning the body to comfort, it's only going to settle into comfort more and more and more. And then the body struggles to then handle adversity. And at every stage of our life, we get hit with adversity, and that adds to the stress and the busyness and all of these other things as well. And the other thing I really wanted to add in is just like being an active person, not just someone that goes to the gym and does PT. It's like, I am now an active person. I now choose to take the stairs because I want to. I now deliberately choose to, actually this is not, I do this a bit as well, but metaphorically is like choosing to then park further away. You know, we try and park as close to the thing as possible, but try and park a little bit further away just so that you're walking a little bit longer, but you're taking that time to deload the mind. That extra 30 seconds you have of walking to the shops or the Coles or Woolworths or whatever, it's just that mind to just like deload the mind and zen for a moment. Let's be very intentional about that.
Beautiful.
So discussing some things that can be done at home as well, because there are times that people can't make it to the gym for a variety of reasons. So if someone can't make it into the gym, what would then be the backup plan, Nav?
Beautiful. So as mentioned before, becoming more active is just everyday life. Walk more, go for hikes, get out into nature, play some social or team sports. So like we mentioned, 2-for-1 deal, get your friends, get your family, do something that's fun for you, relaxing, and you get to catch up with friends. Outdoor activities with kids and family as well. So you could do hiking and walking with your family. Introduce your kids to the outside world, especially, we're not parents, but I know from the amount of parents that we work with, and just we're completely aware of how much technology has an impact on children these days. Introduce them to the outdoor and get outside, and you could play around with them. And maybe do some new skills and movements, like do yoga or martial arts or something that might also like keep your mind occupied and learning something new while also being fit as well. Yeah,
that's really good. And what about people that can make it to the gym?
Then we want to be looking at I think this is the point here, right? Yeah, so if you're at the gym, that's when you could, the equipment options increase. So giving this the ability to become more refined and specific. So like you mentioned, you could then create a structure surrounding your goals. So do you wish to be stronger, leaner, or more mobile? And make sure you have a weekly program that hits the foundations of those goals. So if you have a certain goal of getting stronger and leaner, more mobile, how many days a week do you want to get to the gym? Is that sustainable? Can you adhere to that? Make sure you then have that organized within your week and you have that structured. And then also possibly look at consulting a coach, a PT, or experienced friend who could set you on the right goals and strategy for you as well. Because in that way, it's going to be more effective. If you're already a busy person, then you might as well try and be as effective and efficient as possible with your training. Try not to have too many holes, because that could hurt you in the long run as well.
Yeah, beautiful. Anything else you wanted to add to that as well?
I like the prioritize posture and movement. So if you're an everyday person, that's going to support you in your busy lifestyle. So you want to make sure that you actually have a foundation of posture and movement, so you lack of pain, and you're actually energized and performing in your everyday life. So that'll be a big one. What other things we have here? Dedicate the time. Yeah, you could also ensure you're making adequate time for warm-up exercise, general mobility and mobility within your program as well. So if you're going to organize a 60-minute session or a 45-minute session, try and fit it all in together. Like, find exercise and movements that serve your posture, your movement, your rehab, whatever issues, niggles that you have in your body, because most people have them. Fit all that within there as well. Don't ignore that. Don't just be like, oh, okay, well, I want to be fit and strong and healthy, but then do a program that's a cookie cutter one on YouTube, but doesn't fulfill your needs as an everyday person that has to go to work every day and get out of bed, and you have knee pains or ankle issues or back issues. Try and fit all that into the one workout or across the week, and aim for at least 3 total hours of gym per week, ideally. Spread across 3 to 4 sessions per week, and that in itself will be sufficient.
It's not a lot. 3 hours ain't a lot.
Crazy, yeah. The best ROI, best return of investment ever.
Yeah. For all of you tradies out there, that's actually reducing, probably just take out 3 or 4 of the fake poos that you do at work each day. And just fucking go to the gym. So, but yeah, probably tradies wouldn't probably be the most busiest people, but anyway. Let's talk about nutrition,
Beautiful.
Now, if we're going to be making sure we're not cutting corners on our health goals, then we obviously need to make sure that we're paying attention to our nutrition and being super aware. And so with nutrition, specifically for time poor people, busy people, we've got 2 main avenues to take. I've personally done both, and I personally give my clients the option to do either or both, depending on where they're at. So here's what they are. The first, we can go down the plan and prepare route, or we can go the track and eat style. So 2 different styles. So many people, again, they do a blend of both. Others fine, but what's most important is that you find it one that you can stick to it. Consistency and adherence is still the number one thing here. So let me read this out to you. The plan and prepare approach is to literally plan and prepare all necessary meals before the week starts. This is how I got my 6-pack as a diesel mechanic, because I was able to stick to that. And basically, not all food was necessarily cooked for me, but it was all prepared. So my weekday meals, my lunches and stuff, they were all prepared. But something like my dinners, I would cook dinner at night time, but I'd already have all my veggies already chopped up, and I would have all my meat already marinated. So it was just a matter of chucking it on the pan and cooking it. So that's what plan and prepare is. The plan and prepare is you just plan it and then prepare it. I don't really know however much but the goal here is to start the week with the plan, and then all of your effort for that week goes towards sticking to the plan. And you just got to get good at saying no. Someone's like, hey, do you want to do this? You say no. Why not? Because I've got my food prepared for me. Or no, you just say no to things. And then you're on it, and you don't have to track anything. You just stick to the plan, and you refer back to that every week. The second option is the track and eat style. And this is where a person tracks and records daily what they consume, how much and when. So they use tracking apps and whatever this, or a food journal. So whilst this person may have more freedom and flexibility with their food, their main efforts are therefore spent the constant monitoring and recording of tracking the food and making sure they're hitting their daily food targets. They work well for some people, not for other people. It's finding the thing that you have to have. But the most important thing is both of these approaches share a very mutual rule, and that is they only work when the strategy itself is revised every single week to make adjustments to the food quantity, the quality, and the volume. Volume is basically quality, but it's more about that you have a method of, say, we're going to do this for the week. And at the end of the week, we go, what worked and what didn't, and then you make the necessary adjustments moving forward. And that has to happen every single week. And so whether you plan ahead and stick to it, or you track everything you eat, it doesn't fucking matter as long as you stick to it. You've just got to stick to it and make adjustments weekly. Sometimes daily, but just never take your finger out the pie. Is that the word?
I don't know.
Don't eat the pie. Just it's got to be within your awareness. That's what we're getting at. So just make sure you're all over it.
Yeah.
Do you want to drop me a few notes on just discussing meal prep and planning for that?
Yeah, so I love those two methods. I use both of them with my clients and myself as well. But some other helpful prompts on top of that. So if you're going to either track by using like an app like MyFitnessPal or prepare yourself for the whole entire week, some other helpful prompts are prioritizing protein. So making sure you don't undereat in protein. A good rule of thumb for most people, I would say, is 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of like lean mass on you. If you're the reason why I say lean mass, if you're someone that's 130 kilos, I would say eating 1.5 times your body weight in protein might actually be high. So make sure you prioritize protein. Get your protein in before everything else. Make that number one. Find ways to combat and face sugar and alcohol cravings. So eliminating these habits are often the most effective action people take on their nutrition. Like we mentioned before, sometimes it's simply eliminating the crap. It's removing the things that get in your way. So setting boundaries around that. You could either set boundaries of like one cheat meal a week when you go out. You might have a drink then, or you might have a dessert. Or it could be something small like a daily dessert to curb the cravings. But if there's cravings or things bad behaviors and bad habits you fall into, be aware of it and find ways to combat that and make it harder to actually fall into. Josh and I also get our 3/4 of our weekly food prepared for us. So we use Fit Food Perth, and they actually make our food for us. So they make snacks for us, and they also make our lunches and dinners for most of our meals. So that's another thing. It does cost a little bit more, but in all fairness, I genuinely believe I saved money.
Cost me less.
I think it cost me much less. Yeah, the time, the cleaning, and also I was wasting food. And I waste far less food, and they're so much better at making food than I am.
Same.
So much better. The food that we get from them is delicious. And so if you can maybe outsource your food, you could either use something like Fit Food Perth to do it, or you could even go somewhere and I know people even gone on like Gumtree and stuff. I don't know how much I would trust that, but using somewhere like Fit Food Perth is a good way.
And you'll be surprised how many restaurants, especially locally owned family restaurants, are really open to like meal prepping as well. I honestly have used restaurants a fair bit, especially like Indian restaurants. They got steamed rice on the go, and their curries aren't too bad. Again, it's not the most amazing, but it's definitely a step in the right direction, and I've utilized them a lot. You'll be surprised what you can get away with if you just ask someone. If you just ask them, hey, do you guys do meal prep? And they'll be like, everyone wants to make money, so they'll usually do it. Should we squeeze in? We might just do like a quick camera reset, actually. And then we'll just pump out the last section, and then we're on the drive on the way home. Mystery sound.
Hey, we've had this one before.
Oh no, this is the other one that's still playing.
Is it?
Oh
no, surely not.
No, we've got a double up.
Double up, yeah.
All right, this one.
We've heard this one as well.
I actually don't mind this one. All right, camera reset. And we're back. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, and we are recording. All right, stress management. Let's drive this home. You need to value your relationship with tension and stress. That's why I say you need to value it. You need to have a genuine interest in this, and you will when you feel what it's like to have lots of tension and then not lots of tension. So we're talking about physical and mental stress. Physical stress manifests as tension in the body, whereas mental stress manifests as chaos, low motivation, and distraction. So there's these different types of stress, but they very much interrelate and they feed each other. So the thing to know is that all of these stresses are expensive to the body. They cost us energy. They leave us with a long list of repair tasks within the body. So in the instance of training, we're intentionally stressing the body so we bounce back fitter and stronger. But for most people, they don't actually know how to calm their mind and body back down after those sessions. And that's what we're really talking about, Nav.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so that was my segue, like, onto you now.
Precisely, I figured so. The pause kind of gave that away for me. Yeah, so precisely, people need to become more aware of how stressed they actually are throughout their days. So some of the issues that people have that are if they're consistently stressed, are getting sick regularly. So yeah, we'll run over these, but if any of these pop up for you, then it might be a sign that you're stressed. Your cortisol might be out of whack, your nervous system might be out of whack, and you might be overstressed. So things like if you're getting sick regularly, constant aches and pains within the body, consistently getting really tight shoulder, neck, upper back, you get really shallow breathing, tight breathing, you don't feel like you get enough breath in, sleep issues, low energy and libido, big cycles of low motivation, so needing to lay in bed or really struggling to get off the couch, and also high fat and low muscle. So you could even be like skinny fat. That could be also a sign of stress as well.
That's a very good point. How do we battle that? How do we combat? What do we do, Nav?
Well, it's so funny because sleep is the number one. It's hilarious. Like I mentioned earlier, I tried biohacking. I was like, I could find my way. I could find the best nootropics. I could find the best brain waves to listen to or the best bed to sleep on. And I have a lot of that stuff, but nothing ever beats good quality and quantity of sleep. So getting a good 7 to 8 hours of sleep.
Minimum, motherfuckers. Sorry.
Making sure, get your sleep. Making sure that you have a cold enough room, it's dark enough, it's quiet enough, you're comfortable, your sheets are hygienic, you have a clean space. That's by far number one. And so everything else outside of that isn't as important if your sleep is so poor. So make sure sleep is there. The other one's self-awareness. And so it's an ongoing practice that takes a lifetime because life is always changing. We're always changing.
Yes.
But small changes can make a big impact. So the more aware you are of your own thoughts and feelings, the better you can handle them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And really the thing that's most important that I think as far as a skill to be like the stress skill is learning how to flick the switch. And that doesn't happen. You can't, if you don't have the awareness, you can't flick the switch because you don't know where it is, but it is understanding, being able to recognize when you are stressed, either psychologically or physically, and then intentionally choosing to down-regulate that. And so if your mind's chaotic, you go in silence or you meditate or you journal, you go have it, you call your you call your friend, and it shouldn't have sworn then. Call your friend, do whatever you need to do to deload the mind. The same way with the body, you do what you need to do to deload the body, which that's when these things like the saunas and the ice baths and the foam rolls and the mobility and the massages, that's when they really start to help if you need aid in then, good things about saunas and ice baths, Epsom salt baths, you can really surrender into that and just relax and be like, this is the alleviation of tension. That's the goal there. The better you are at flicking the switch, the more you're taking advantage of that time that is then being put towards recovery rather than continually draining you. And so, fun fact, the sleep drink that we have, our adrenal switch that we have before bed, I've now moved that for after training. Because of the theanine and the magnesium, as an effort to down-regulate my stress after my training. Because I train in the Arvos and often train at like 7 o'clock at night, and so I'm bringing the drink forward. And then if I still feel that I'm wound up, I'll double up. Or have some adrenal IREX before I go to bed, which is another cortisol-based supplement. So that's it. Listeners, there we have it. That's a lot of information, and we've smashed through it. But if you're a regular listener, we just had to get through these points, and we skipped our initial yarns that we have at the beginning of the episode, and we're also skipping the mystery items. So sorry, not sorry, but we just wanted to, funnily enough, cram more information into this podcast for all you busy fucks. So in summary, take the holistic approach, consider all lifestyle factors, and do your bang for your buck items. Prioritize the movement, prioritize your nutrition, your sleep and stress. For movement, it's finding ways to nourishingly move you. Nutrition is prioritize your protein and keep aware. Your sleep is just hit your 7 to 8 hours minimum. And with your stress levels is keep that awareness of knowing when you are stressed versus not stressed, and also keep the awareness around whether it's psychological tension and manifestations of chaos or it's physical tension, which is a manifestation of the physical stress that we're dealing with, which is also sometimes from the mind as well. And so you just got to zen the fuck out. So, from there, seek help to refine your mistakes and time. Save time by learning from others' mistakes. Find coaches, and if you don't want to spend the money on your coaches, find your experienced friends. They all want to help.
But a really good coach probably wouldn't give free advice too much anyway.
Exactly right. Next one is combat being busy. Address your state of mind and your attitude towards time if busy is a constant problem. Be organized and proactive, commit to time to recover and calm the nervous system, and practice self-awareness and mindfulness so that you are more composed and healthier.
Beautiful.
And that's about it. Is anything you want to add, Nav?
I love that. But yeah, I think I just want to end on, guys, Get some sleep and relax.
Get some sleep.
Get some sleep and relax. It will change your life.
I don't like this one.
Not relaxing.
This ain't so bad. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you want to, if you want to get intimate with us, you can do so by following us on Instagram you can go on TikTok. I'm kind of on TikTok, but anyway.
Yeah, I just actually opened mine. I just started one.
Yeah, boy, we're on it. Yeah. Woohoo. Social media. All right, adios, amigos.
Adios.
We'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.
Health and happiness.
Health
Much
and
love.
happiness.